you can't be closer to dying than what you were and come out of it as well as you did.
And Ben opened the door and asked me if I could get out, and I sort of turned my legs to the side and just sort of melted right out of the truck. I mean, literally just poured out of the truck.
His color was pale, and he was very weak. He was a little short of breath. He had some chest pressure and tightness radiating into his left arm.
At that point there, you really said you were having a hard time breathing and that you could feel chest pain, and you turned white and you were sweating really bad.
I get him on our heart monitor, and sure enough, he's having a heart attack.
My name is Mike Brown, and this is my wife, Kim, and this is the story of the day that I actually died. Simple enough.
Well, my name is Ben Newington. I'm a paramedic with East Jordan Ambulance in East Jordan, Michigan. Mike and Kim Brown, they live local here, and I said, so what's going on? And I look at Mike, and he's sitting half in and half out of his truck, and he's pale, cool, diaphoretic. He looked really bad. So I get him on our heart monitor, and sure enough, he's having a heart attack, and we get him loaded up in the ambulance right away, Tom and I. Tom Berge's the other EMT on, and so Tom pulled the ambulance out, and we got him on our cot and into the back of the ambulance, and headed for Northern, where our CVU, cardiovascular lab, is.
I don't even remember being put in the ambulance. Then at one point, I'm being reintroduced to Ben. He says, I'm going to put a couple of IVs in your arm. And I just told him, go for it. I mean, what else am I going to do? I'm laying there, and, and I'll tell you what, it was really quick. I've never seen anyone put IVs in me that quick before, and I felt really comfortable in good hands.
Meanwhile, they asked me to ride along. I didn't know if I should follow in the truck or ride along, but Tom Berge said, you can ride along in the front. And Tom was doing everything that he could to keep me calm. And I didn't think it was that serious because Mike had recently had a checkup and an MRI, and I thought, well, maybe he was having a mini heart attack or, some little incident, and I didn't realize that it was as serious as it was, because at one point, I guess, Mike came back to consciousness and hollered up to the front, I love you, and he thought he was saying, I love you, because he wasn't going to get a chance to talk to me anymore.
We've had a habit for the last few years that I would call Kim, in fact, the last 10 years. I would call her every morning and say, good morning, I love you, and goodbye. And I really had felt that I was saying goodbye. It's because I just couldn't remember staying conscious all the time. And every time that I would wake up, and I knew I was in the back of the ambulance, because the worst part about the ambulance ride is the fact that my elbows were being beat to death on the gurney or whatever you call it.
When we got to the hospital, the doctor took a look at his EKG, and the cardiologist was there, and they agreed that yes, he was having a heart attack. And then Mike's heart stopped. We shocked him and came back to a normal sinus rhythm at that point. When we got up to the cath lab, the doctor put the catheter, inserted the catheter in, and you could see the view of his heart on the x-ray machine, and you could see where the blockage was. And that was, at that point, the doctor said, Mike has what they call a widowmaker. Mike was awake during most of this, except the times that his heart had stopped, and they had to shock it back into a regular rhythm, regular sinus rhythm. And he goes, Mike says, hey doc, less talk, more work. Right on the operating table. And then that cuts me up, because that's something that's only Mike. Mike is such, I gotta give the guy credit. He is so brave to comprehend what was going on around him and just be able to keep it together and be so calm.
I remember Tom Berge and Ben Newington sitting with me in a little waiting room while I was waiting for someone to come out and tell me how you were doing, and they sat with me and supported me and kept me basically propped up. And then Dr. Cannon came out and basically gave me the worst news, that that you were having a 90% blockage on your main artery, and they were going to do all they could for you, but at that point he had no idea what the outcome was going to be. So that's when Tom and Ben were there, and they really supported me through that. And even after the doctor left and I had some questions, because you're so paralyzed by that news that you really don't know what to say, I was able to ask them more questions, and they were able to help me a little, to help me understand what was going on. So then he does go to the stent lab, and he has the stent put in.
Once the block had opened up, he returned 100% circulation to his heart, and at that point they took him into recovery.
And Dr. Cannon comes out, and this is only like 40 minutes later, and tells me he's going to be fine, and that he was very lucky that they were able to get the stent in time, and he shouldn't have any other problems.
We were well within our window of time to make it all happen to save his life, and that sometimes takes, that sometimes is a monumental task in itself, is to make it all happen in a timely fashion.
The events that day could have been a lot different. I mean, I came in and had coffee with you, came in and had breakfast with you. I could have gone right out to the barn and just, collapsed alone, had you not wanted to do something together. Mm-hmm. And I call that fate. Going through all the motions and getting out of the hospital, let's just say everything went clear sailing. I met a lot of great people in the medical profession, and I have the utmost respect for anyone that has taken the time to go to school and learn how to take care of my bad eating habits or my smoking habits or whatever they may have been that may have caused this originally. But the utmost respect for people that take the time to become educated to help other people. And the first thing that happened when I was able to drive, because they told me I couldn't drive for a while when I got home, and I don't know how much time had passed, but I saw Ben. He was packing up his truck or doing something, moving from his house that he was renting and getting ready to move into his new home. And I hadn't really met the man, but trust me, when I just saw his mannerisms, what he was doing inside the house, I knew it was him. And I actually turned around and I came back and I stopped and said, "Are you Ben?" And he says, "Yeah."
I was getting ready to, turn tail and run, and because I wasn't really sure who he was, and he seemed very, very formal. And I said, "Well, yeah, my name is Ben." And he walks up to me and puts his arms out, and he says, "I'm Mike Brown," and he wraps his arms right around me, and he says, "You're the one who saved my life, and I thank you. I'm so grateful for you."
If it weren't for him, initially I wouldn't be here. And that means more than, that means, oh, wow.
I've never had anybody do that before, and I didn't even recognize him, because when somebody is sick like he was, they look totally different when they're up walking around and normal. And he had color back, and he looked really well.
People are great, and especially when you know why you're here a second time around. I'm sure that God has his reasons for why I'm here, and I'm sure he'll let me know what I have yet to accomplish. And if connecting with Ben, helping with Ben, and helping get the word out is one of these things, then I'm very thankful that I'm here and able to do that. It could have been a lot different.
East Jordan Ambulance, where I work, it's special in a way that I've never seen an ambulance company before, because the people who work here in East Jordan, our volunteers, live here in the community. And so when your neighbor is sick, they see a familiar face and they know that they're going to be okay. They have that connection, and the level of trust and the level of care goes up exponentially. And I think that's what makes East Jordan Ambulance special.